All right. Testing the audio. Okay, I see people are joining. Please let me know if the audio is good. I think I've done everything correctly. Okay, somebody says it's working fine. Let's check here. Okay. Oh, I can suddenly hear the audio changed. A lot of microphone handling noises. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure what is happening. I've been doing this for like a year now, and I still don't feel like I fully understand this microphone and everything that comes with it. Okay. All right, but if people can hear it, then that is good. Okay. So I think a post should be going up now to get more people to join. So let's wait a second to get a bit of a crowd going, and then we can proper start the stream. Okay. All right. Oh, okay. People are actually joining in mass. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Gaetano. I'm the creator of OPR. For those that are new, welcome to the OPR Hangout. This is a monthly stream where I basically get on, give a bit of a studio update, talk about what is going on in the studio, give a little preview of the models that are coming, in the next month. We look at concept art for some of the things that are going to come the month after. And finally, we have a Q&A where we answer questions. Now, so this stream was supposed to happen last week, but I was traveling, so it's happening now. It's a Monday evening, so I'm assuming that there's not going to be as many people joining as usual, which is understandable. But yeah, it still seems like we have a bit of a crowd. Oh, and I see some of the usual suspects joining in. Hello, Chaval. All right. I guess Let's just get to it, and see what's up. By the way, I'm a little bit tired. I'm a little bit destroyed. I just came back from a very long trip. I've taken 2 weeks to travel, and I was on the other side of the world. So I'm a little bit jet lagged. I had I think a 26-hour trip yesterday. So yeah, if I'm a little spaced out, you know what's up. Okay, all right, let's go. Yeah, let's go. Let's get started. All right, so first up, let's talk about OPR at Spiel Essen. So, for those of you that don't know, Spiel Essen is one of the biggest tabletop gaming conventions in the world. It happens in Germany. It happens in Essen. And thanks to the help of our friends at Titanforge, we're able to actually attend Spiel this year. And actually, so I told you that I just came back from a long trip. Well, actually, in 2 days, I'm going to Spiel Essen because it's starting soon. So the event goes for 4 days. I think it's from Thursday the 5th until Sunday the 8th. Yeah, and we're going to be there. We're gonna have a couple of tables. We're gonna have a couple of things. I'm going to be there, so if you want to meet me, if you want to shake my hand, if you want to, chat about wargaming, I'm gonna be there. There is, I'm also gonna, doing some meetings with business people and all that type of stuff. So I'm not gonna be always there, but the team is gonna be there. So yeah, feel free to pass by. So we are going to be in hall 1 at position 1C. What is this? 116. We're actually squeezed between Titan Forge and I think it's My Mini Factory. And yeah, we managed to get like a little stand there, which is going to be fun. We're going to be running demo games. We're going to be giving away stuff. We're gonna try to do a couple of other fun things. Yeah, we're gonna have like a display with like some of our miniatures, so you can check them out, like the amazingly painted miniatures that you see in our like ads are gonna be there. Yeah, it's gonna be cool. Like I said, if you if you're there, if you can come, swing by. We're going to be running demos, so if you've never played the games, you can come in and actually get playing, get started, and ask any questions you might have. And actually, if you take part in the demo, we're also going to be giving you some free minis. So everybody gets a mini. Of course, these are limited supply, so make sure to come early and get them before they're gone. But yeah, these are the same minis that you get if you're part of the so the winners of the painting contest and the writing jam can get these minis, and now also people that come to the convention get these minis. So yeah, the cool stuff. You should swing by. And I don't know. It's the first time I'm going to a convention like this. As OPR. I'm excited. It's gonna be fun for sure. I'm sure it's also gonna be stressful. I don't really know what to expect. That's the reality of the situation. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Excited. Cool. So yeah, if you're there, Hall 1, come and find us between Titan Forge and my mini factory. All right, I think that's about it for Spiel Essen. We can move on to the next thing, which is the most cinematic bat rep ever. So, about a year, almost a year and a half ago, we announced that we were partnering up with Goobertown Hobbies, Mini Wargaming, Cinecore Media, and Monument Hobbies to make the most cinematic bat rep ever. So this was a big endeavor. Basically, everybody got together in like a professional filming studio with professional cameras and these crazy like micro lens camera things and robot arms and all this stuff. And yeah, they painted the minis. They made basically like a mini documentary like leading up to the battle report. And then yeah, we it was supposed to come out, I'm gonna be honest, at the beginning of this year. Things got a little bit delayed, but finally the video is here. Very excited, very cool. So there's actually two of these videos that you can watch. So the first one is the my Mini Wargaming version. So go to Mini Wargaming, to the Mini Wargaming YouTube, and check out the Mini Wargaming edit. It's a shorter edit. It's more like to really get you into the vibe and kind of like get you a general idea of what the bat rep is about and what OPR is about, and it's kind of really there to get you pumped. And I think it's like around 10 minutes long or something like that. And then we have the actual bat rep on Brent's channel, so on Goobertown Hobbies, where you can see, I think it's like a 45 minute cut where they show the full match being played, the armies, the objectives, movement, shooting, melee, a full bat rep. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that these videos are finally out. It's been a long time coming. They came out great. Very excited. Yeah, very excited to have them finally out there. And we've been working on these videos for so long, and people kept asking like, when is it coming? When is it coming? When is it coming? And I saw the previews, I saw the first edits, and I saw all that stuff. And it's I was very excited to get it out there, but I couldn't just give you this stuff. So it's cool that finally it's shared with everyone, and you get to enjoy this you get to enjoy this as well. All right. Yeah, so most cinematic bat rep ever. Go check it out on Mini Wargaming and Goober Town Hobbies. All right, next up we have a third edition. So third edition was released last month at the beginning of September. Yeah, very cool. All of our games, well, all of our main games have been updated. So Grim Future, Firefight, Age of Fantasy, Skirmish, and Regiments. All of them have been updated to this new edition. All of the all of the core rules, all of the beginner guides, the advanced rule books, all of the supplements, the mission cards, the mission packs, the narrative campaigns, gang wars. Everything was updated to third edition. Yeah, and we hadn't released a new edition in many years, and that was kind of, yeah, it was exciting. It was a bit crazy because usually I'm so for those that don't know, like, I'm the only person that works actually on the games and the design of the games and all that stuff. So I'm more used to doing these periodic small updates here and there, and get a little bit of feedback here and a little bit of feedback there. And it's not so often that I do like one huge update and then get like an avalanche of feedback and all of that. But yeah, it's been a very cool launch, very fun, and yeah. So well, and the cool thing is, so we launched, and then I got a ton of feedback. And then immediately, like a week after launch, I was able to release. Yeah, I'm just going to show some pictures, by the way. I was able to release an updated version, so 3.1.0, where I addressed all of the main issues that people had. So, yeah, really cool. I can't thank the community enough, because it's it's kind of crazy how we get to do this, where it's like we drop a new edition and then get feedback from 10,000 players, and then immediately a week after, like, boom, here you go, here's the fix, everything's updated, all of your army lists are updated, all of your rule books are updated, everything's there, you don't have to buy anything, you don't have to pay for the patch, you don't have to do anything there, it's just bam, you just get it. And yeah, that's very cool. Like, how many games do we know that a new edition was released, and then you have to wait months and months for the first fixes, and then sometimes it takes years to get armies updated. Sometimes armies don't even get updated at all in a new edition, and issues in the rule book are never fixed, and there's never an errata, and there's never an FAQ, and there's never a whatever, and so it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing to be able to do this. Honestly, I kind of wish every war game worked like this, because um, I think it makes games so much more accessible to everyone, and it's so community friendly. But whatever. Anyway, so after a week, a patch was made, where, yeah, I basically fixed all of the major issues that I have seen with the game. So what comes next? So I've been collecting a lot of feedback over the last couple of weeks. Like I said, I was traveling, so I wasn't able to update anything. And then now this week, I'm going to go to this convention Spiel in Germany. So I'm not going to be able to update anything this week as well. But probably the week after, so in a week or two, I'm going to run one final major pass and hot fixing, all of the feedback that I got for little army bugs here and there, things that are named incorrectly, upgrade packages that are like incorrectly ordered, or special rules that maybe could be reworded a little bit better, that type of stuff. So I'm hoping to update everything, yeah, in the next 1-2 weeks, and then after that, take a break, collect major feedback over time, and then go for a quarterly update. Because actually, it was actually very helpful to make this one update, and then have this period where we collect all the feedback and then patch it, and then rather than doing tons of tiny updates and constantly having to patch and update the game. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying this new method where we release quarterly updates. Yeah. So yeah, expect some updates in the next couple of weeks. but then we're going to lay low for a while on the main games, except for whatever small other updates here and there. Maybe maybe we make a model for a new unit, and we'll add a new unit. This type of stuff is still going to happen, or hot fixes, or whatever. Um, but yeah, third edition. I guess just to wrap it up, it's here. It's here to stay. Overall, the reaction from the community has been very positive. Of course, every time we release a new edition or any major updates, there's always going to be some people for whom it's a little bit hard to adapt. But it's actually very cool to see how quickly that opinion also shifted. Like I feel that in the first 2-3 days, we had a lot of people that were like taken aback. They're like, oh, whoa, like I have to learn a new edition and I have to adapt to all these changes. And then especially once after a week we posted that one patch that fixed some of the major issues, I feel like it has really cooled down. And now yeah, I all I see now is really positive feedback. So it's cool to see that shift from people being taken aback and maybe being a little bit negative to suddenly being like, okay, this is very cool, and now we're playing third edition. And yeah, we're seeing also like that the third edition is bringing new players. We've also been advertising it around and stuff like that. So if you're new to the community, if you're new to OPR, welcome. Make sure to go on our website and check out the free quick start sets. Those contain everything you need to get playing. They have the core rules, the beginners guides. They have a mini campaign that tutorializes the game, so you can learn step by step. They come with free minis, free terrain, both for 3D printing and 2D printing. We also now have added virtual tabletop, top-down models to the quick start sets. So if you want to play it on, Roll20 or Tabletop Simulator or whatever, and you want to learn there, the models are available for that as well. Yeah, and just get cracking, enjoy the games. And yeah, I'm looking forward to all of the cool stuff that's also coming. There's lots of stuff coming. I don't want to talk about that too much right now, but yeah, third edition it's a great start into a new era for us. All right, I think that's it for third edition. Let's move on to the next thing. Okay, talking a little bit about narrative. So, all right, all right. I feel like I'm repeating the same things every month, but I gotta. So okay, as some of you may know, or many know, or I don't know, OPR games are set in the OPR universes, and right now all of the lore that you get to see is really just confined to the little blurbs at the beginning of the army books. And we're working on many different things to expand the lore. One of these things are the world books. So what are the world books? For both Age of Fantasy and Grim Dark Future, you're going to get a book. The book is around 35 to 40 pages. I think it might be slightly longer. We've actually been extending the amount of content in the book to give you something a little bit chunkier. But basically, yeah. So it's a, let's say, 40-page booklet that kind of gives you an overview of everything that you need to know about these worlds. So, for instance, for the Grim Dark Future world book, it tells you a bit about like the history of like how does humanity even get to the Sirius sector. It tells you a bit about the actual Sirius sector. It tells you about some of the major locations in the Sirius sector. Talks about the faction. Talks about space travel. Talks about how does society work? How is magic? How what are some different types of planets that you might find? It talks about a lot of concepts that we have not been going that much into in the army book interest. So, it talks about something that's the zone. We have not been talking about the zone that much, or the inner sphere, outer sphere, and the frontier. Lots of cool things. And anyway, so these books are filled with lore, and they're also filled with art. And now every month I'm showcasing a different piece of art from these books. And here we have a piece from the Future World book, from the section where we talk about currencies. So in the world of in the universe of Grim Dark Future, there's lots of different like space currencies that are being used. And in this particular illustration, you can see some sort of maybe a merchant, maybe a banker, maybe a scoundrel. I don't know. And they're dealing with like lots of different types of currencies. And actually, this image is even bigger, so there's even more stuff on there. And I find it very interesting that it's showcasing like all the different kinds of things you can find. You have some sort of bills that look more like traditional our money type of thing. But then on the right, you have these sort of vial things that you plug in somewhere, and you also have like a weird like server money stacking thing. And at the bottom, you can see some sort of like cards. On the left, you can see some sort of rounded gold plated currency. Anyway, cool stuff, cool art. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to releasing these books. Um, but yeah, besides the world books, let's talk about also the short stories. So we are working on short stories that for both of the worlds, for Age of Fantasy and for Grim Dark Future. And so the plan is going to be that we're going to be releasing one new short story for Grim Dark Future and for Age of Fantasy every month. They're going to be originally on Patreon, and then later they're going to be available for free on our website. We're actually currently thinking that so the original idea was to only have the short stories just be short stories. But actually, we're currently thinking about possibly doing something where maybe like the short stories come with like a special mission to highlight, a battle that happens in the short story, or how to play a scenario that's kind of like related to the short story or something like that. I think that's a fun idea. We're kind of toying around with it and how it would work. Probably what would happen is that like the short stories with the missions would be released on Patreon, and then maybe we would release only the short stories for free on our website, and then after a while we would like bundle up the kind of like we do with the mission packs, bundle up a bunch of short stories with their missions, put them up for sale on Drive Through RPG and Wargame Vault, and then you can grab it all. But yeah, still very much in the work. And okay, so let's talk about one of the short stories for Age of Fantasy. This one is Hunter and Prey. This is a short story. So this is a short story for the Beastmen. It's about. I don't want to go too deep into the stories because I don't want to spoil things, but basically it's about a brute boss. And if you know a little bit about the story of the Beastmen, well, they basically used to be in this like amazing society in the south of Tyria, and basically when the Great Rift opened, it kind of destroyed their society, and now they're sort of nomads. They're kind of split, but most of them are kind of like nomads, and they're walking up the rift towards the north. And they've become raiders and stuff like that. And this short story I found very interesting because it basically explores this dynamic of them kind of being a great people that have kind of like fallen and raiding to survive, and where do you draw the line between your own survival and what you're taking from others, and who do you help, who do you don't. Yeah, it's interesting. And I have to say, generally speaking, I really like this about the short stories, that we really get to kind of explore um, the deeper implications of the lore behind an army. Because I feel like when you just read those army book intros, they're cool, and they give you a general sense of an army and what it's all about. But you can't really deeply explore the ramifications of the events, and the short stories allow us to talk about that. So yeah, very cool. Okay, I think that's I think that's about it for the studio update. So for those of you that are new to the streams, well, welcome. Like I said, the stream is kind of like split into different parts. So the studio update was the first part. We just finished that. Now we're going to talk about the upcoming minis for October and for November, and then at the end we're going to have the Q&A. So let's go ahead and talk about the models that are coming in October. So first off, Human Empire preview. This one is bittersweet because there is some really cool stuff coming in October. Actually, coming out in 2 days. But it's also the last release for the Empire. Time really flies. I feel like I say this every month. It's been 6 months of Empire, and yeah, and they're already gone. I remember at the beginning, some people talking about like, oh my god, it's such a long release. Like, how are you gonna do this for so long? And it's like, yeah, time absolutely flew, and now we're at the end, and yeah, it's cool to see the whole army come together. So okay, what are you going to get in October for the Empire? So really here we're just wrapping up and we're just giving you everything that's left over. So number one, if you look at the center, you can see the cleric. The cleric comes in multiple versions. There comes a male version, a female version, of course. You have a version of a cleric like reading a book and with a big like flail. And you have another cleric with like a dual hand weapon, dual mace situation. I think they're very cool. I actually like how the posts come out. The cleric, the male cleric, actually has like a bald, that cleric bald spot thing. I think that's really cool. A little bit funny. And yeah, I feel like they really embody this sort of more fanatical side of the ether element from the Empire. Yeah, very cool. Nice little hero models there. On the left and right of them, you can see the hunters. So the hunters are another mercenary unit, like we started talking about introducing a few months ago. The human empire used to be this really great large empire, and then it kind of like fell apart. But humans from different parts of the world, still come and fight alongside other humans from the empire. And so the mercenary units really allow us to like show off different cultures and different types of humans that are not just your standard empire human. And yeah, and so the hunters are another unit of those. They're bowmen, they come with male female versions. Five unique different styles. So you have from the more traditional ranger to one of them is like a sort of like Nordic vibe. Another one's a little bit of like a um, oh my god, Robin Hood kind of vibe. Archer, whatever. Lots of different archers, and they come with a little pet. They come with a hunting dog that is actually like holding a little ducky. It's a little bit sad because when we modeled that ducky, it was very very cute, um, and then we had to kill it. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so okay, so yeah, that's the heroes. Then you have the hunters. Then what you can start seeing towards the middle, but also let me move on to the next thing is I think these are called. Oh god, sorry, I'm forgetting now. They're the elite knights. They are the guard knights. I think they're called. Not 100. Oh, damn. Let me double check what they're called. I think they're called guard knights. But I might be completely wrong. They are the guard knights. Okay. So the guard knights are basically like an elite version of the knights, and you can see them here. They come with fancy new armor. The horses come with fancy new armor. They come with a command group, as always, male versions, female versions. They come with lances and shields, or with great weapons. So they have a variety of great weapons. They have an axe. They have a mace. They have a hammer. Very cool unit. Really, really, I like that. Whilst it still feels related to the knights, it has that extra level of eliteness to it. Yeah, very cool unit. And then after that, you're also going to get, okay, here comes the big stuff. So let's just talk about it first. On the left, you can see the general on Empire Dragon. This model is huge. I'm gonna be honest, we kind of struggled to get a good angle for the render that really showcases this model in the best light possible. This model is huge. It's a big dragon in a cool pose. It comes with a general that has, I think the general comes with a great sword and I think a halberd as well. Also male female version as always. Very cool, and the design of the dragon of the empire actually reflects elements from the empire. So it has like it has five horns, like the five elements of the empire. It has all of these like little shields that represent the different elements. So lots of stuff, very cool. Yeah, it's the first time we're releasing like a big dragon like this, and I'm very excited to see people print this and have it on the table. And then all the way on the right, we can see the final new model that you're going to get, which is the hurricane wagon. So this is the last one of the mage wagons in the series, so to say. and this one, of course, is for the air element, and it features a basically the idea here is that it features this big mechanical bird thing in the back, and then the idea is that the wizard sort of activates this bird to kind of come alive and like flap its wings and create some sort of like hurricane that can devastate enemy units. So yeah, that's it for the Empire. Yeah, lots of units, many months, very cool. First, I know that we had the Duchies of Vinci, but for me, somehow this feels like our first real human army. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's like the quote unquote important central army of the game. I'm not sure. Whatever. It's very cool that we made them. Also, the first one of the first armies, I guess, or the first army to really follow our new kind of like our new anatomies. So we've been working hard on improving our models to basically have the right level of basically be something that has the right level of thickness so that it prints well, so that it's stable, so that it doesn't fall apart, but also that looks good, that has a nice amount of details, but it's not too detailed. I know that a lot of people complain with some of our previous releases that were too detailed. Finding that right balance where it's something that like once you print it and you have it on the tabletop, it looks really great. I feel like some creators, and in some ways maybe we as well at some point, fell into the trap of making models that were really cool in a render, but not that actually printable and not that usable and not that nice to paint when you have them on the table. And these models now, in our new style and in our new scale and in our new everything, really embody this printable, playable, um, enjoyable to paint kind of like ethos that we have now. Anyway, all right. So that's the Human Empire. Let's go to the Dwarf Guilds. So the Dwarf Guilds, we actually had a little bit. I know that last month I announced which units were coming out this month, and there was a little bit of a mix up in our schedule, so you have to slightly rearrange things. But you're still getting most of the stuff that we had spoken about last month. I think the only thing that was rearranged was like the battle tank. The battle tank is going to come next month instead of this month, or well, yeah, whatever. But anyway. So what are you going to get with the Dwarf Guilds in October? So first up, you're going to get the Guardians. So the Guardians are I think they're called the Guardians. The Guardians are a completely new unit. They're completely exclusive to us. We thought, hey, if we're going to make dwarves, I think it makes sense that we have a sort of like shield wall unit. So we went ahead and made it, and yeah, they're basically sort of like they're following the same armor style as the warriors, but without backpacks. They have these nice big shields in front of them. They come with multiple weapon options. They come with pistols. They come with picks, and they come with spears. So you can basically run them different ways. You can run them a little bit more offensively, maybe with the pistols and the picks, or more defensively with the spears. And yeah, they're like a nice little riot gear style unit. Yeah, very cool. Happy to have them in the game. Then you're going to get the Jetpack Warriors. So the Jetpack Warriors, yeah, I really like how they came out. They have these really cool masks that have like this sort of like aviator goggles and these nice, all of the cabling and stuff that you can expect from the Dwarf Guilds. But also very cool. Instead of making them, our philosophy was always that, hey, if we're making a model that is flying, let's not bother making them actually flying. Let's put them on the ground, but pose them in such a way that it looks like they're about to take off, or maybe they're landing or something like that. And now with the Dwarf Guilds, we said, hey, let's actually try something new, and let's actually give them these sort of like smoke plumes for their jetpacks. And I think this came out really, really cool. It's a vibe. I really like how it came out. And so the Jetpack Warriors come with different options. They come with dual glove guns, I think they're called, or fist guns or something like that. So they can fly around like pew pew pew, shoot with both hands. They come with pistols and picks as well for a more melee-centric option. I think some of them also come with different. I think you can have a couple of them that can come with flamer pistols and maybe plasma pistols, and some of them can also be equipped with multiple melee weapons. I think like with a hammer and the gauntlet, I think. Well, whatever. They come with multiple weapon options. As always, male and female. You also get a helmeted version. And actually, okay. So unfortunately, the screenshot is a bit hard to tell. But in the middle there, you can see that there's actually a hero version as well. So you're going to get a dwarf champion with jetpack. And same stuff, different weapon options, that double glove pistol thing, different melee weapons, different hand weapons, and stuff like that. So yeah, a nice hero for your jetpack squad. And then the last thing you're going to get in October is, well, two things. On the left hand, you can see a small vehicle, which is the assault vehicle or the attack vehicle. The attack vehicle, here we're only showing one version, but it actually comes with multiple options. It has these sort of like dual heavy fusion guns on the side, but those can be swapped out with quad machine guns, which actually looks really cool. And then we actually have like a nicely made cockpit that you can have open, or we have a sort of like I don't know how to call it, like a cage sort of thing that you can put on, or we also have a fully closed version for those that don't want to bother, painting the inside and putting a dwarf in there and all that stuff. So yeah, that's the assault vehicle. It's about half the size of an APC. It's really basically just a dwarf instead of a small car, well, a small vehicle delivering heavy firepower, at high speed, which the dwarves really need because they're slow. And then on the right side, you can see the artillery, and the artillery, actually similar to the assault vehicle, has a heavy fusion gun, and it comes with a twin heavy machine gun. It also comes with 3 crew, so you have a crew member with like a beer barrel and actually like cheering for the artillery. You have one with like a hammer and a binocular, and then there's actually another one with I think it's like a screwdriver thing, that's kind of like repairing the artillery. I think this artillery piece actually comes with an additional some additional like little barrels, not barrels, like fuel deposit things that you can also have there to like create a little diorama and stuff like that. Um, yeah, very cool. Nice to see the dwarf guilds continue. I really like how they're coming up. Okay, and then finally, what else are you going to get? You are going to get a new legendary. So the legendary for October is the Macaque Titan. So we're going back to Eternal Dynasty. It's been a while since we released something for Eternal Dynasty, and here we have the Macaque Titan. So huge model. This is a tough 18 model, I think. So it's really big. It comes with this really wonderful base that was inspired by these Japanese thermal pools where macaques go to chill. Yeah, the model was so big I couldn't even fit it all in this screenshot. But yeah, you can see it's very cool. Lots of details, lots of hard surface, symbols everywhere, and stuff like that. Really feels part of the Eternal Dynasty. And yeah, let me see. Yeah, here you can see the base a little bit better. So you can see there's actually like a thermal pool that he's kind of like stomping in, and it's splashing. And in the back, you can see like a big plume of smoke that comes from the pool as well. And funny enough, so for those that are on our Discord, you may or may not know that you may have seen that whenever somebody asks like, oh, when is XYZ gonna come out, then we usually say, hey, when it's ready, right? That's how OPR works. We release things when it's ready, and we have this little picture of 2 little Eternal Dynasty drones carrying food that are like flying around, and they're like, oh my god, when it's ready. And they're kind of like hurrying. And now we actually made the when it's ready models. So yeah, you're gonna get like a little you're gonna get a little drone that's carrying a tea set, and you're gonna get another drone that's carrying some sort of like dumplings or steam buns or something like that. And yeah, I thought this was fun, a fun addition, and you will be able to print these separately. So if you only want to recreate that little scene, you'll be able to do so. Okay. All right, so that's it for the 3D previews. Now let's go into some concept art, and we're gonna start off strong with vampire concept. So in November, we have a completely new army coming out with the vampiric undead. Um, Very excited to finally be able to show more concept art for them. Yeah, let's just get into it. So first things first, you're going to get a vampire lord. So the vampire lord is your standard, let's say, hero for the army. Comes with lots of different weapon options. I think sword, great weapon, some sort of daggers, a spear, a halberd, whatever. Comes with lots of different options. We're trying to make sure that he looks very nice and noble and epic. Yeah, so he's gonna be like your center hero. And well, the vampire lord is the male version, so you're also going to get the vampire lady. So the vampire lady is, well, the female version of the same hero. And yeah, comes with some cool armor. We're currently debating exactly which version to work on. Probably we're gonna work on B or C, and for different head types, also we're kind of like playing around. But yes, you're going to get a female version of the um, vampire hero as well. Um, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing these models. It's very interesting that we went from making the Empire, which is a human army, to the Vampiric Undead, which also are human army, so to say, but they're all slightly different because the base anatomy of the vampires is a bit different from the ones of a regular human. And then you have the Drained, which is also different. You have the zombies, which are different. You have the skeletons, which I guess are not humans. Well, I don't know, whatever. They're also a little bit different. So it's cool that we're doing a human army that doesn't really feel like a human army, and I like that. So yeah, anyway, so these are your two heroes. Then you're going to get a main combat unit with the drained soldiers. So important to note, in this screenshot you can see a couple of guys in the middle with like a shovel and a pitchfork, and then on the right you can see a guy with a bow. So in November there will not be the bowmen. The bowmen are coming in another month. You will only get the main drained soldier. So for those of you that don't know, the drained are replacing our, so in the classic, let's say, vampire army fantasy, your basic soldiers are skeletons. But in our version, it doesn't work like that. Our basic soldiers are drained, which are these sort of like, these peasants that they basically have to play like a blood oath, blood tax to the vampires. And they actually come with these sort of like cool little collars with like a straw so that the vampires have easy access to draining them of blood. And yeah, this is going to be a regular mainline unit for the army. So, you can expect swords, you can expect shields, halberds, spears, command group, some little um, bats as buddies and stuff like that. Yeah. All right. Then we have the bat swarms. So vampires, you're gonna get a lot of bat stuff. So the swarms are just little swarms of small bats. They're great for harassing the enemy. And yeah, you basically get three different compositions. Actually, these models, I've been seeing them made today. They look very very cool. I like that, like that grave in the middle with like all the skulls. Actually, we actually made it like that, and very cool little vampire buddies that now are actually able to fight. And then the last thing you're going to get is the Bat Beast. So the Bat Beast, it's basically a tough 6 mini monster, vampire bat monster thing. So in our version of the Vampiric Undead, basically you have a whole part of the army which is kind of like an experiment. An experimental, weird, grotesque side of the army. And bad stuff, some of the bad stuff falls into that line. So The Bat Beast is basically a bat that was somehow pumped up to become this really large monster thing. Very cool. I've already seen the model. It looks amazing. And actually, inspired by, well, whatever. We have actually decided to make a second version of the Bat Beast that will be written by a Ghoul champion. It's not coming out in November, but it's going to come out later. But yeah, we're adding a completely brand new unit to the OPR roster, more unique to us. And yeah, I've already seen some of it. Very cool stuff. Yep, and that's it. That's the main vampires that you're gonna get. So some heroes, a mainline unit, some swarms, and a bat beast to get you started. And then in the coming months, we're going to start basically how can I put this? You can imagine that so this is an army with a lot of variety, right? You have drained, you have zombies, you have skeletons, you have wolves, you have werewolves, you have small bats, you have dragons, you have lots of stuff. So we couldn't just give you everything at once. So you're basically going to get a little bit by little. So I think the month after you're going to get a couple of skeletons. The month after, maybe I think you're going to start getting ghouls or zombie wolves, maybe, and stuff like that. So expect a nice intertwining of, hey, here's some drain stuff, then some skeleton stuff, then maybe another drained unit, and then some zombies, and then something like that. And so a nice big mix of different things. Okay, that was the vampire concepts. Now let's move on to the dwarf guilds. So what are you gonna get for dwarf guilds in this is in November. So first off, you're gonna get the the berserker veteran, I think he's called, not the berserker champion. I think he's called the berserker veteran. Berserker veteran, very cool model. I've already seen it. It has all of these sort of enhancements to its body with all of these crystals coming out. Big ass mohawk. It comes in male version, female version. Has a special great axe. Comes also with dual axes. Yeah, very cool hero. Very very badass. Very very badass. I really like it. Then you're also going to get. Okay, then you're actually also going to get the berserkers. So the berserkers are an interesting unit because on the surface, I think we kind of wanted to make them simple, and then it kind of they actually have a lot of different things going. So the berserkers have all of these augments throughout their body. They're basically naked, but then they use these sort of augments that are plugged into some sort of juice tank in the back that gives them some sort of power thing. And they also have all of these runes that they have. And the runes they kind of plug into their belts, and they actually plug into the axes to get to kind of give them additional powers and abilities and stuff like that. And then so yeah, you're gonna get dual axe versions, you're gonna get great axe versions, and then on top of that, we're also going to get an additional grenade launcher guy. Very cool, actually. I was a little bit skeptical about the grenade launcher option for them at first, but I actually think it came out really, really cool. I've already seen the models. I think it came out really, really cool. The grenade launcher feels nice and heavy and thick. And I'm actually wondering if maybe there should be or could be some possible way to make a more melee adapted version of the grenade launcher, because I feel that I feel that it's cool to have the grenade launcher there as this option of hey, get your berserkers to sort of move up the field, but also be able to harass the enemy if they're not in the immediate vicinity of something that they really want to charge. But I also kind of wonder if there would be a way to make the grenade launcher work in melee as a sort of additional or alternative way to deal damage. Not really sure. Something that I still need to see. But yeah, berserkers. Then you're also going to get the I think these are called the hammer elites or the elite hammers or something like that. You're basically gonna get the elites. The elites are, well, they're full on melee troops. Actually, yeah, like this, it's gonna be real melee month. So these guys are full on melee troops. They come with big hammers. I think they also come with a special extra big hammer that they can be upgraded with. They have these cool backpacks with these sort of like not wing, but like these sort of like flaps to kind of like really set them apart on the tabletop. I think I mentioned this already at some point, but when we were designing the dwarves and we did like our first pass on them, one thing that became very obvious is that um, compared to maybe a fantasy army, when you're working with sci-fi, it's very easy to accidentally fall into the trap of making an army where all the units kind of look the same. Like, yeah, maybe this unit has rifles, and maybe this unit has carbines, and maybe this unit has shotguns. But when you look at them at a distance on the table, they sort of have all the same silhouette, and they look very similar. And so we did an additional pass on dwarf guilds to sort of make sure that the silhouette of each unit is distinctive, so that when you see them on the tabletop, you can say, okay, these are the hammer elites, and these are the veterans, and these are the warriors, and you can tell them all apart. And so making these backpacks with these big sort of flaps, and they have these big crest like helmets as well, plus of course the big hammers, really helps set them apart from other units. So yeah, I think they're very cool, and I'm happy about how they turned out. And then what else are you getting? You're also getting the battle tank. So this was originally planned to come out in October, but we had to shift things around. But yeah, you're going to get a battle tank. So the battle tank is the juiced up version of the APC essentially. Comes with this nice plow, and then of course comes with a turret. The tank turret can be customized with lots of different things. I think it comes with a flame cannon, a battle cannon, an anti-tank cannon. I think it can come with a quad machine gun. It can come with a sort of fusion cannon. It can come with a sort of AA cannon as well. Yeah, you can upgrade it in lots of ways and have and yeah, you can upgrade in lots of different ways and swap out the different fronts of the turret to get different weapons. Also, there's some additional details like in the back. So like if you're using the flame cannons, you can actually change and put like some sort of like fuel canisters on the turret to really give that vibe and that silhouette change to signify that it's a flame cannon. Yeah, very cool. I really like how it's turning out, and I can't wait for you to get it in your hands. Okay, so that's Dwarf Guilds for November. All right, we're almost through already with the concept. So we have the last thing, which is the legendary. So for November, for the legendary, we are going back to the Beastmen, another army that hasn't had an update in a while, and yeah, it's gonna get they're going to get basically another effigy titan. So for those that don't know, the Beastmen, the way that they work is they all of their titans basically are an amalgamation of sort of steel and fire and lava. They really are they turn into forging as part of their new nomadic lifestyle. So they basically travel the lands, they raid villages or cities, they get all the metal they can, and then they forge it and smelt it into like this new thing. And in this case, when you have a large creature that's built of metal and then molten lava fire thing, and then the shamans basically bring it to life, and now you have a titan that's fighting for you. Anyway, so for this legendary, we it's called, I think, the shaman titan, and basically the titans always sort of represent an existing part of the army. And in this case, we kind of said like, well, we've already done like a centaur titan, and we already did the sort of like saber tooth cat titan, and they're kind of like standalones. And we thought about like, well, what if the shaman is the one that brings them to life? So what if the shaman, what if we have an actual shaman titan, right? So it's a titan that actually represents the shaman. So if you can see it here on the screenshot, you can see the big shaman titan made of metal and fire and lava and all that stuff, with a huge staff, and which looks really cool, and chains and all that stuff. But if you look at the bottom left, you can actually see that there's a tiny shaman standing there. And so the idea is that basically the shaman is guiding the small shaman, the real shaman, whatever, is guiding the titan. And so it's going to have the same pose, and you're going to see like, the small shaman is basically like, pulling out its staff, and the big shaman is just following suit. And I really like this idea of having this relationship and showing it more clearly, which you don't really see in the other titans. And I think this is gonna be very cool. Okay, cool. So that's it for the concept art. We are an hour into the stream. Very good. I know that sometimes these streams can tend to go a bit too long, so this actually feels nice. So I'm gonna go now and go into the Q&A. So we will. I will check out the questions. There's not that many. There's only 8 questions, so I'm gonna check out those questions and answer them. In the meantime, you guys can hold on. How do I usually do this? Do I do it like this? No, I don't think so. I do it like this. Okay. In the meantime, feel free to ask questions. So the stream usually lasts around an hour and a half. 8 questions, I don't think is going to take me a half hour to answer. So if you have any questions for me, put them in the chat now, whilst I answer the questions that were written down before the stream, and then I'll get to whatever I can before the end of the stream. All right, so let's go for the questions that people ask. So okay. I'm very happy with OPR currently, and I'm really looking forward to Age of Fantasy Quest. Has there been any consideration for changing some names? Like Age of Fantasy makes me cringe, but OPR Fantasy and OPR Regiment feels better to me. I think that somewhere down the road, okay, I think that either somewhere down the road we are going to change the name, the overarching names of the settings, but I'm not really sure. I think what's maybe more likely to happen is that we are going to introduce new names for the whatever we're doing, the games and whatnot, and basically refer to things by those names. And the Age of Fantasy and Grimdark Future names are kind of gonna fall in the backside. So imagine, I don't have a proper example for this right now, but let me kind of like throw an so all right, you have. Let me think of a good example. I don't really have a good example. So basically, the idea is like, imagine you have a game called, I don't know, Battle War. Who cares, right? And then it would be like, hey, our game is Battle War, and Battle War is set in the grim dark future universe. But everybody just talks about Battle War and that. And so whilst it is grim dark future remains there as a name, it kind of falls into the background. It doesn't matter as much. Again, I really wish I had a good example right now, because I know that there's other places that do this. But if you've ever seen a setting where the actual name of the setting is a thing that nobody ever actually uses, but they only refer to things by the name of the actual product, well, that's kind of like the thing that I'm referring to. So yeah, there's a possibility that we will change names at some point. Okay, next question. If I recall correctly, you mentioned on a previous stream that the Vampiric Undead releases would have a dragon, singular. If the phrasing was intentional, oh no, there was no intention to remove the zombie dragon or the bat dragon. We're making both. Don't worry about that. Are there any news Are there any other news regarding the upcoming changes to the Vampiric Undead Army book? Particularly curious about the chariots as well as the possible removal of ghosts. So this is something I've been mentioning in the streams. There are going to be a couple of units that we are removing from the Vampiric Undead. Mainly, I think it's the Banshees. Let me double check. All right, I think it's the Banshees, the Wraiths, the Hex Knights, and the Ghost Swarms, and the Ghost. No, yes, and the Ghost Swarms. Those are going to be removed. So they're still going to be in the game by being part of the Ghostly Undead, but they're not going to be part of Vampiric Undead. For the Ghost Chariot, we're actually going to. I actually like the idea of having the functionality of a Ghost Chariot, so to say. I don't know how to put it. So we're actually going to change it into something else so that it fits into the army. So the Ghost Chariot, quote unquote, Ghost Chariot is going to stay. I don't remember what it's going to be called. I think it's been going to be renamed to something like Deathly Chariot, and its stats are going to change a little bit, so that it's not so ghostly. But yeah, that's kind of the plan. All right, cinematic battle report. One, could you tell us more about the creation of this video? I don't know what else to say that hasn't been said already. So, a couple of years back, Cinecore, in collaboration with Mini Wargaming, made a prototype or like a test shot of a wargaming video filmed with this sort of like robot arm camera thing. Um, and they really liked the idea, and then eventually they kind of said like, hey, let's make something out of this. And they were looking for a game to actually play, and they approached us about it. And I really liked the idea. I love the way that it looked. Like I saw that original trailer. I really loved the way that it looked, and so yeah, that's kind of like how it all started. Number two, why it has been delayed? It was just like I think maybe there was an underestimation of how long it would take to properly edit it, and also I think that the direction of the video changed a couple of times. Should it, because when you film a traditional battle report with like a handheld camera, it has a very specific look and feel. And I think there is a certain expectation of how such a video should be edited, because we've all seen by now thousands of those type of video probably. But this is something new, so I think that the adapting to this different thing and making it work is what basically made the editing process much longer, and that's why it was delayed. Number three, are there any plans for doing similar reports in the future? I'm not sure. I'm going to be honest. Yes, the fact that things were delayed kind of makes things a little bit more hesitant. It was also, a very involved process, and it was great. But if we wanted to do something like this, it would either, and if we wanted to do something like this and wanted to do it often, first we would need to bring the costs down, because it's expensive to have like a whole camera crew and these robot arms and the cameras and the scripts and the films and getting everyone in the same place and renting a space and all that stuff. It's expensive to make, and also we would need to be edited much faster to be able to come out more frequently. I could imagine it more being a thing that's like, it's a special thing that happens every now and then. So imagine like, hey, there's a new edition coming. Okay, let's make a cinematic bat rip. Or maybe there's a new game coming. All right, let's make a cinematic back rip. Maybe something like this. I'm not really sure, but I feel like it would need to be something special to do it. Okay, other questions. How did OPR company end up in Portugal? This is quite far from Italy. It's in Portugal because I moved to Portugal at some point. So I've actually, throughout my life, I lived in many different places in Europe. And yes, I am half Italian, so I guess that's where the Italy thing comes from. But actually, before coming to Portugal, I was living in Germany. So I was living in Germany. Eventually, I decided to move to Portugal. eventually decided to start the company, and so that's kind of how it goes with life. There was not a particular reason to move to Portugal for the company. I mean, there was for me, but not for the company. And then why is Grimdark Future Firefight not called Grimdark Future Skirmish? Really, it's to differentiate the games. Like, I really wanted to make sure that it was easy to tell which game you were talking about from the get-go. So, if Grimdark Future if it was called Grimdark Future Skirmish and Age of Fantasy Skirmish, I can imagine that somebody on Discord would just say like, "Oh, I've been playing Skirmish," and then you have to ask like, "Well, which Skirmish have you been playing?" and stuff like that. So, generally speaking, I think it helps to have separate names for our different products, even if they're very similar. Um, yeah, I think that's generally it. And actually, like, yeah, there have been thoughts about having, Age of Fantasy Quest and Grimdark Future Quest, like both being called Quest, for example. And I'm not 100% sure about that because of this exact reason. Why are some units not listed in Army Forge when I go to build? For example, I can't find the Mummified Queen or the Gecko Psychic on either of their lists. So, for the Gecko Psychic, it's very easy. You have to get a Gecko Champion, and then you have to upgrade it to be a Psychic. So that's how heroes work in one-page rules. So you basically have the generic hero, and then you have lots of ways to customize it. So, you can mount it on different things, you can give it different weapons, or you can upgrade to be a psychic, or it can be upgraded to be a veteran, or it can be upgraded to be a battle master, whatever it might be. About the Mummified Queen, so we didn't really want to distinguish between king and queen. The male female distinction didn't really make sense to me in the rules. So instead, they're just called, I think, the royals, monarch. So it's a monarch. So if you're looking for there's also no mummified king. You would just get a royal champion and upgrade it to be a monarch, or you can upgrade to be something else. You can upgrade to be a priest, or a herald, or whatever. There's one called a venom expert. The different things that you could do. All right. Then, hey there, I love the new direction for terrain sets. Will these sets include more faction-oriented pieces, and will there be buildings in the future? If so, will these buildings ruins be buildable and disassemblable? I asked this for storage convenience. Okay. So we announced. Let me write this down real quick. Sorry, I don't want to derail too much, but I'm gonna write this down to talk about it more in depth next stream as well. Okay, stream. Okay, so we recently announced that we are going to be changing the way that we make terrain. We've heard everyone's concerns about the way that we're currently doing terrain for a while now, and then we ran a poll where we asked people, what kind of printing do they do, what kind of terrain do they want, blah 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 blah, blah, all this type of stuff. And so we are changing the way that we're doing terrain. And the first step is that we are going to be releasing essentially, essential terrains for OPR. So right now with the OPR terrain, you might have some Ratman terrain, but then if you have that terrain, but you're playing with the Mummified Undead, well, maybe it doesn't really make that much sense. And even if you have, if you're playing Mummified Undead against Ratman, well, maybe you don't want all of the terrain just to be, a Ratman castle and that type of stuff. You might want to actually mix in some more, let's say, common or, generic things. So, hey, you want to make it a forest with a Ratman village in it, or you maybe want to make it a desert with some mummified terrain in it and stuff like that. So, the idea is that we're going to be releasing these quote unquote essential terrains, these basic terrains, these foundational cornerstone terrains. And then we're going to eventually move on and make faction terrains again as well. And the idea here is that when we asked people about it, we basically found that the vast majority of our audience is interested in resin printing, but there are concerns with our terrain because when you're printing terrain in resin, well, you have issues of like warping. So right now, a lot of our terrain is kind of big, and that means that you have to print just to have one piece of terrain. You might have to run like 2, 3, 4, 5 with the large terrain, 10 build plates to print all of the pieces. And then if there's any level of like warping or shrinking or stuff like that, then it doesn't really sit together well. And then now suddenly you spend a lot of money in printing this really big thing that doesn't even fit properly, and all this stuff. And so the idea is that the new terrain is going to be modular, and it's going to be all cutless, or 99% cutless, and it's going to be printable on a single plate. So the idea is that, hey, I want to print a barricade. It's on a single plate. And then maybe you say, I want to make a building that is kind of like ruined. Okay, so you're going to print one piece as one plate and another piece as another plate, and then you're going to arrange them together to basically form a building. That's kind of like the idea there. And so in doing this, because these are sort of like terrain essentials, we're also going to make our terrain sets much, much bigger. So one of the problems that we see with our current terrain also is that there is not much variety. Like once you have printed, not only do you have to like print multiple plates, like for a medium terrain, sometimes you have to print 4 or 5 plates, and at the end of it, you assemble it and you have one medium terrain, and there's 3 medium terrains in our pack. So at the end of the day, your table kind of looks all samey. So you just spent a ton of money printing a ton of terrain, you assembled it, and you just ended up with a couple of pieces that are all the same. And we think that's not very cool. So we're going to expand what we release. So instead of just having, I think right now we have a small, medium, large area. We're going to have 4 types of terrain. We're going to have 7 types of terrain. Yes, it's 7 types of terrain. So we're going to have small, medium, large. We're going to have barricades. No, sorry. We're going to have platforms. We're going to have buildings. We're going to have... Hold on, let me double check. I have a list here. We're going to have... Where do I have it? Sorry. So there is going to be small terrain, medium terrain, large terrain, area terrain, platforms terrain, buildings terrain, and scatter terrain. And the idea here is that each set is also much bigger. So we're currently a small terrain set, comes with 4 small terrains, some of which are then like split in half. The new small terrain is going to come with 11 pieces. So you're going to get, whilst the pieces are a little bit smaller, so that they fit on a single build plate, you're going to get much more, so that then you can arrange them in different ways and actually get a table that looks very different. So you could get away with just having the small terrain, for example, and build a great table. And so we are going to make these like really, really, really like essential packs that give you everything you need to play. So the small terrain basically is sort of like barricade terrain. So it will come with like low walls. So basically like the type of terrain that you can like shoot over, and then it will come with like medium and tall walls that basically serve as like blocking as sight blockers. Medium terrain is basically like different sizes of like debris that usually are not passable. Large terrain is still going to be here, but large terrain is going to be modular and not cut to be modular, but like modular to be flush. So no, flush, is that how you say it? Modular to be basically standalone. So you could print all these large pieces and use them as separate pieces of terrain, or you can print the pieces and put them together and create your own custom large terrain. Then you're going to get area terrain. Area terrain, it's the basic stuff that we know and love. Then you're going to get platform terrain. So the platform terrain basically is going to be different platforms of different heights and different shapes, so that you can add verticality to your games. This is especially important for skirmish, where I feel that like our current terrain is really lacking in giving you that that sort of like elevation that you might want for skirmish. And it's also really cool to kind of like give you walkways and stuff like that you can then use even between other terrains that are not platform terrains. Then you're also going to get building terrain. So building terrain is basically like, I guess the closest thing, if you're familiar with it, is like the mantic terrain type of thing, where it's like you're going to get corners, you're going to get walls, you're going to get things at different heights, and you basically are able to build your own little building. And again, like each piece is individual and printed individual. You don't have to worry about having to cut and then glue things together. You can just print different things and then assemble your terrain. It's much more easier to transport. We're still gonna have to figure out exactly like how to make sure that when you put together, it doesn't just accidentally fall apart and have like different plugs and things like that. But yeah, so you're gonna have building terrain, and then finally you're gonna have scattered terrain. And scattered terrain, it's going to be a bit different than what we have now. So it's going to come with more pieces, and it's going to come with a bunch of really small pieces that are specifically made for bases. So that's the thing that we get a lot of requests for, is like, hey, like we make scattered terrain, but it's too large to put on bases, and people really want to have little pieces to customize their bases. But then it's also going to come with some larger pieces, some medium-sized pieces, that you can use to, round out your table. And then finally, also with like one larger piece that can be used as decoration and stuff like that. So yeah, lots of plans for terrain, big sets, lots of stuff, buildings, platforms, walls. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming for terrain, and it's going to be very interesting. And we're basically also experimenting, right? We're going to do the first set. We're going to see how people react. We're going to see what works, what doesn't work, and then we're going to adapt for the next sets. All right. Oh, I feel like I took a long time on these questions. All right. What will the rules be available? Oh, when will the rules be available in multiple languages? Not sure. Right now, there's lots of fan translations. Please use those. I'm not sure when, if, how rules will be translated into multiple languages. It's that translating to multiple languages, especially for a rule set that changes so often, is it's a big thing, because it would basically like slow down development a lot. Because let's imagine that we want to just translate into the most common languages that rulebooks are translated in. So German, French, Spanish, Italian, Polish, right? I think those are the 5 core languages that things are usually translated in. So that means that every time we want to update the rulebook, we're going to have to get 5 different translators to provide translations. We're going to have to make sure that all of those are consistent. We're going to have to make sure that all of them make sense with the rules. Then we're going to have to make sure that there's a place where we can like properly upload them and track them. And also it means that like already now it's a bit of hell to keep track of, for example, typos and grammatical errors and stuff like that. Now imagine how much harder that becomes when you're trying to track all those issues across 5 different additional languages, right? So whilst it is something that we would love to do, it's a whole thing. We would require a team basically to work on it, or a part of a team to work on it. So yeah, we have other priorities right now. The Sorin army list in AOF got updated with I always forget how to say this. Deinonychus riders, mounted geckos. I assume because models for them exist in our systems. Is OPR going to release their own version of mounted geckos? Eventually, yes. No plans for it right now. Is it possible to get a building printing guide for more complex multiplayer models like Battle Sisters tanks? Again, this is the type of thing that would require dedicated people to make these guides, and we don't have the resources for that right now, so no plans for that right now. Okay, cool. So that's all of the questions from the previous questions, things, whatever. The questions that people asked before the thing started. All right, we have about 10 more minutes left, so I'm going to very quickly try to go through the questions that people asked here. All right. Now to try and find where I was when I asked. Okay. Will the dwarven tanks have magnet slots for the weapon options? We don't specifically design with magnet slots in mind. Just drill a little hole and do it. Any more news on small scale / 6mm rules that are in the pipeline? No news right now. When it's ready, as always. We're working on the models. Actually, like model production had kind of like slowed down because of some issues. It actually has ramped up again now, which is very cool. Rules wise, we're currently basically working on or waiting on Army Forge, Army Builder support to kind of be able to push to the next step. There is an RPG of sorts in long development. Am I correct? Right now there is no RPG in development. There is Age of Fantasy Quest in development, which is a skirmish adventure game. So it's a skirmish game that kind of works like a dungeon crawler thing. That's in development, yes. Will we get morale update for the skirmish in the upcoming weeks, or should we wait for next update pass? So um, these sort of larger updates, for example, overhauling morale, or something more that would come like quarterly. So there is no ideas to update that right now. I suppose this person is referring to something we had discussed on Discord, like the possibility of slightly toning down the lethality of morale and skirmish. So right now, when if a model is stunned, it automatically routes, and if you do a morale test and you fail it, then you route as well, which is kind of brutal. And we had kind of discussed the possibility of, okay, if a model that was not stunned fails its morale test, instead of routing, they are stunned. So it would slightly reduce lethality, which might be good. Whatever happened to the axolotl mech faction? When it was an idea, we have some concept art. It will be made whenever we feel like it. Why not have a giant stripe caster? Honestly, not sure. Maybe this is something we could do in the future. Um, could be cool maybe to have a giant that can cast spells. I don't know. I feel like that's the type of thing that belongs more into whenever we're gonna make our own models for them. Not sure. OPA. Do you have playtesters to playtest the different OPR games, or do you do it completely on your own? Bit of both. I do playtesting by myself. A lot of the stuff, honestly, right now, I've been working on these games for like 10 years. A lot of the times, updates that I do, they're kind of how can I put it? They don't even need testing. Like, okay, updating a weapon from 24-inch range to 18-inch range. Like, I'm not gonna have to. If I have a unit where one weapon is now gets 6-inch more range, I'm not gonna have to run a bunch of playtests to see if it works or not. So those type of things don't even require playtesting. But usually, what I do is I really pay attention to like the Discord groups and stuff like that. And every now and then, I just grab some players together. And I ask them like, hey, can you play this? Can you try this? Blah blah blah. The Discord really is a great way for me to get playtesting going and get playtesting feedback. Have you considered a kamikaze melee option for the dwarf berserk grenade? Maybe an optional attack that requires both units in melee to add a defense roll. Not sure what you mean with a kamikaze melee option for the grenade launcher. I guess like that they would kill themselves. I don't feel like that really fits them, but yeah, I'm not sure about that. Any chance for an AOF variant of Warfleet? Something along the lines of Armada. Age of Fantasy Armada feels neat. Yeah, I would love to do a fantasy fleets version of FTL. The reality is the demand just isn't there. We have other games that people demand much, much more than a fantasy fleets game, and those are just gonna be the priority for us. Is OPR planning to add additional units to factions? If so, adding new models. Yes. Over time, we will keep adding new units. We will keep adding new models, and we will keep adding even new factions. Are there any more news for the OPR Vanguard program or a rough time frame? Nope, there are no more news. Any plan to change the shaken rule? The actual is very punitive, especially for destroyed transport. It can really ruin your game. I've actually been kind of thinking about the shaken rule over the last couple of days. A lot of people have come up to me and asked about it. I feel like, I guess it's really a matter of what you expect from a game and a war game and all that type of stuff. I know that some people would like to say, hey, like I built these models, I painted them, I put so much time and effort into them, and now they've been shot to pieces twice and they've pinned for the rest of the game, or they're shaken for the rest of the game, and that kind of feels bad. And whilst I get it from that perspective. On the other hand, the shaken rule, just like the routing rule, really helps maintain the momentum of the game. So the way that the games are designed, they kind of, very roughly speaking, um, they kind of work like this. Like you have on your first round, most of the time units are just moving and placing. So players spend a little bit of time on the first round to kind of like position. Maybe they have a couple of units that can shoot. Usually also it's the round where ambushers are not on the board, so there's even less units to activate. So it's usually just like a sort of faster movement round, and you still have lots of units on the board. And then the second round is usually where the game basically reaches its peak of like playtime. The second round is usually the most involved round. That's when all of the first shooting happens, when the first units start getting destroyed or pinned, depending on how it goes. But it's where units get damaged. It's where units start getting removed from the board, and it's sort of like where the big plays happen. And then by the third round, you actually want the game to start going faster because just in terms of playtime, I want the OPR games to be pretty fast. I want it to be something where I would rather play 2-3 games in an afternoon or an evening than to sit down and play a single 5 hour, 6 hour game, right? I would rather play that. That's just how I like my games, and that's how I want them to be. And I would rather play multiple smaller, faster games. And so rules like routing and shaken, they actually really, really help that because it basically means that like by the third round, units that were kind of like shot up will start getting hit and shaken, which means that they will be out for the rest of the game. For example, they might not even come back for the fourth round, or maybe they're in a position where even if they unshake by the fourth round, it doesn't really matter. And so it serves to speed up the game. Yeah, units are fully removed, units are destroyed, units are shaken. There are less activations happening, there are less things happening, and most of the time, depending on how it goes, once a unit gets to the point where it's being shaken, it's already let's say become a little bit irrelevant to the game. Like, yes, we could totally make it so that a shaken unit, instead of not being able to activate, it gets a -1 to hit, right? We could say, hey, shaken units get -1 to hit, they get -1 to morale, whatever, they get -1 quality, and they can't contest objectives, right? We could do that and it could work. I'm not saying it couldn't work, but it would mean that suddenly you would have in round 3 and especially also in round 4, you would suddenly have lots of units that have just like one model left or 3 models left or whatever that really can't do much. They're only wasting time, and they're just running around the board for no reason. And um, yeah, that's kind of like why shaken, makes you be idle and you cannot activate that unit for that round, or well, you activate it, it does nothing for that round. It's because it's there to speed up the game. So yeah, I'm not really looking to change shaken that much. One important thing is, I know this maybe sounds a little rough, but the reality of the situation is also if you are suffering a lot from your units being shaken, maybe you should adapt your strategies. Like I see often when I talk to some players about how the games and how things go, and they're like, "Oh, I keep playing my way, and every time I play my way, the game doesn't go how I want." Well, maybe you shouldn't. You should adapt, right? You should adapt your play style to the rules to make it work. Maybe you're being too reckless with your units, right? Maybe you're being so reckless that your units are getting shut up by turn 2 enough that they're shaken and now they're out of the game for most of the game. Or maybe you are exposing your units to too many lines of fire, and so suddenly one unit that could have done well is being shot at by 2, 3, 4, 5 units in the same round, and now they're getting shaken, right? Stuff like that. You should try and play around it, and understand the rules and see how you can work with it, rather than you know just change shaken, because some people don't like it. All right. Hey, could the Jackals army need new hero and some new units as well? Because them kind of feel lacking right now. Okay. All right. So Jackals, there are no plans to add new models to the Jackals right now, nor to add new units to the Jackals right now. The Jackals are meant to be a small army. They're meant to be a sort of mercenary army that you bring along with a bigger army, and they're meant to be more for like smaller engagements. So there's no plans to add new stuff to the Jackals for now. Who knows? Maybe in the future we will. Then the second question is, what the hell is a Master Destroyer? It's a Battle Brother Master in Destroy Armor. Where is the chameleon chief? You have to get a gecko chief, and you have to upgrade it with the chameleon upgrade. All right. Okay, much bigger terrain is great, but will they still be compatible with small printers? No, I'm sorry, I don't know if you understood correctly. It's not that the terrain is bigger, it's that the sets contain more pieces. So they're all compatible with the small printers. That's the idea, is that any piece of terrain is printable on one build plate without any assembly required. Now, there will be some exceptions, right? So there might be a situation where, oh, you have a sort of barricade that includes a tree. Okay, we might do a cut at the tree so that then you place the tree. But you will not have cuts in the middle of terrain anymore where you have to assemble the terrain. When is the first batch of the new terrain scheduled? We are hoping to be able to release it by end of the year or beginning of the next year. But it's taking some time because it's adapting to a new system, adapting to new things, concepts, a new type of concepts that we're doing. Yeah, everything is changing. So I'm hoping by the end of the year, but I don't have any solid, more solid info. Okay, I think it's already 1 hour and a half that we're into this. Let me go very quickly through the last couple of questions, and then we're done. As a longtime patron supporter, I was wondering if you could offer something for a board game and tabletop club. I would like to be able to offer OPR in my club on a larger scale. I'm not sure exactly what you mean with what could we offer for a board game or tabletop club. We don't currently have anything that's a board game. It would be cool. It would be cool to do some sort of board games, but we are already so overworked and we're doing so many things already. I don't know how that would happen. Is there any kind of volunteer program in the pipeline? Yes, but it's still taking time. OPR source war layer compatible terrain would be awesome. What is war layer? War layer terrain. Just seems like terrain. What is Oh, they slot together without needs for tools. I don't know. That's not what we're currently planning, but who knows? Maybe one day we'll do war layer compatible terrain. Any changes we're getting for orcs down the line, or any chance we're getting orcs down the line? Yes, all armies are going to get models down the line. When? Who knows? Any chance for a World War II, World War III variety of Grimdark? Something between Bolt Action and Team Yankee? No. We are no plans to make anything that is not within our Age of Fantasy and Grimdark future universes for now. That's why we have the custom army builder. So if you go to Army Forge and you select fan armies, there are already people that are making World War II armies and similar and historical armies and stuff like that. And I think truly that is the solution, because we are not going to make models for World War II, for example, and we're not going to make rules for World War II and stuff like that. So if you have models for Bolt Action, for example, and you want to play them OPR style, just make custom armies that are for World War II, or grab the existing custom armies from other players and get playing. But don't wait or expect OPR historicals, because there's no plans for that. If it would ever were to happen, that would be like 20 years from now. So yeah, I wouldn't hope for it. Will you ever bring back Double Tap? But Double Tap was a skirmish-sized sci-fi skirmish game inspired by the likes of Infinity, so with like action reaction systems, stuff like that. And we had it on our one-off section at some point. It would be awesome. I would love to bring back Double Tap at some point. I have this idea in my mind that I would love to one day make some OPR games that are actually specifically dedicated to tournament play for that type of crowd, and that's where Double Tap would fall into. But who knows when that would happen. Are we going to get Space Vampire Undead at some point in the future? That's actually something that we have been talking about in the team, and we actually had some concepts for. I love the idea. I love the idea of some sort of space undead army that isn't just zombies. I think you see zombies and other weird mutant stuff everywhere, but an actual army of skeletons in spacesuits, if done well, I think could be very, very cool. But it would have to be done well. Have you ever tried to make a battle report between Grimdark Future and Age of Fantasy? Yeah, you can play them together. We never made official battle reports, so there is no battle reports. But yeah, you can totally play Grimdark Future versus Age of Fantasy. What's your preferred line of sight system for 3rd edition, and what would you recommend for competitive play? I don't know. I guess I just always naturally tend towards 2D line of sight, but that's also because I usually play online on things of like Roll20 and stuff like that. I think if you're playing on the tabletop, like in real life, true line of sight is probably the easiest thing, and yeah, maybe it's not the most competitive thing, but like it just gets the job done. So I would probably recommend that. For competitive play, I suppose the most correct way to play would maybe be volumetric, because it allows you to do competitive with like 3-dimensionality and elevation and stuff like that in a better way. But probably, I suppose if you want to play competitively and you want things to go as fast as possible and to be as clean as possible, I think the 2D terrain without any elevation is probably the way to go. That's probably the easiest thing to then do competitively, and then you can use like little lasers and stuff like that to calculate things. Yeah. Okay, maybe you could tell us more about the team during one of the future streams. I don't know. So one thing that we've been thinking about is making a, we have this news section on our website where right now all you really get is news about like whatever new product that's coming out. And whilst that's very cool and very informative, I also think that there is a lot more that we could talk about and that people are interested in. For example, talking about the team and structure and tasks and stuff like that. And I think that would be great for like an article. So I think what we'd like to do for the future is start releasing more articles that talk about other things than, hey, check out what came out this month, right? And instead talk about like, hey, how was this army designed? Or, how does the team create concept art? Or what was the idea behind short stories or whatever? I think that could be interesting. I don't know how much people are really interested in like the nitty gritty of how OPR is organized as a company. I'm sure some people are interested, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Okay, so this was the last question. We're 1 hour and 40 in. I think that is enough for today. I hope everybody enjoyed the stream. Please, if you happen to be at Spiel Essen, pass by our booth. The team is gonna be there. Grab a free mini. If you see me, say hi. And yeah, I'll be back for the next stream in a month from now. No, sorry, in a month from now. In 4 weeks from now. So it should be on the 26th. 26th of October should be the next stream. Yeah, I think that's it. All right, thank you everyone for joining in, and I'll see you